Who is January Jones? She is not a young, beautiful, talented actress on Mad Men. She is not an older, gorgeous, exotic dancer from the Johnny Carson Show. She is an author, and she wrote Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, that reached #1 at Amazon.com. She is a reality TV golf personality with World High Stakes Golf televised on HDNet. She is a humorist and winologist expert. She is your featured host today on January Jones Sharing Success Stories. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and listen to Ms. Jones with her eclectic roster of guests as you learn life's lessons. These stories plus sharing equals success. Welcome, and remember, beware, because you are entering the no whining world of January Jones.
Now here's a question for my listeners. What is the first thing you say in the morning to your husband or wife? Tell me, can you imagine what it would be like to say the first thing to your husband or wife? Did you feed the dog? Well, we've been married 45 years, and guess what? That's what we say to each other each morning. Have you ever wanted to know why it is so important to have pets in your life? Now, would you like to learn what happens when your dog becomes obese? Tell me, have you ever heard of a product called Did You Feed the Dog? Now, would you like to meet someone who has some of the answers we're looking for today? Now, are you ready to learn how to be successful and how to take better care of your dog? If you can answer yes or maybe to any of these questions, then you are in the right place. And I'd like to welcome you to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. Today I'll be introducing you to my guest. This is the first time he has been on the show. And he has a wonderful product that he was going to share with us with wonderful information, inspiration, and some really, really great advice about feeding your dog. I am pleased to announce that this show is now live on Talk4 Media and is syndicated on 6 networks with over 5 million listeners to date. We are archived 24/7 for your listening pleasure. So now it's time for you to sit back and relax as you enter the no wine zone. Pour yourself a glass of wine, get some cheese and crackers, and enjoy our show. Now let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. He is a 25-year veteran of the franchising industry, having worked in senior leadership roles for 3 nationally recognized franchise systems. He has held roles in finance, marketing, business development, and operations. He received his Bachelor's of Business Administration from Stephen F. Austin State University in Texas and his Master's of Business Administration from California Lutheran University in Thousand Oaks, California. It is my pleasure to welcome to the show today Jim Foley. Hi, Jim. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, January. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, I'm so excited because, my husband and I, we lived in Westlake Village for over 40 years. And at that time in our life, we owned the Thousand Oaks Racquet Club. So Thousand Oaks is, we still have so many family and friends there. It's a wonderful place to live in California, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so close to the coast and everything else you'd want out there. We've since moved up to Northern California, so we're up in Marin County now.
Okay.
Which isn't so bad itself. It's quite nice. But the whole state, I'm a fan of the whole state.
Oh, yeah. Now, share with us where your success story began, Jim. Where were you born and raised? Share a little bit about your childhood and early mentors.
Sure. I'm one of 4 children. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. I'm the third, so I have an older brother and an older sister ahead of me. We were raised in the South Hills of Pittsburgh in a little town called Mount Lebanon. Loving family. Mom and Dad are still together. God bless them. We all went through college. A couple of us have master's degrees, and I think we've been very fortunate in that sense. One of the things that I've always done, from high school, I think I got my first work permit at the age of 14. I've been working, I think, nonstop ever since. So I'd always be looking for a job, and my first job was in a hardware store, and I learned all about stocking and pricing and returns and customer service and running the register. And I love that. And then in college, I had the pleasure of working for the gentleman that owned one of the college bookstores in town, and that small business mentality and small business education continued. I often said that I learned more going to work every day, going to college than I did going to the classroom. So I've had some great small business mentors through the years, and that continued on when I started with Pip Printing in the late 80s. I was lucky enough to start up a friendship with the founder of Pip Printing, which was one of the printing franchises back then. And through the years, he was a fantastic mentor.
Okay, well, you sound like I grew up in the Midwest, too, and my first job actually was at Sears Roebuck, and I worked in customer service. And I agree totally with what you said earlier. You learn so much when you're out there dealing with people on a day-to-day business. It's almost more than you can even learn in a formal setting, isn't it?
Oh, I believe that. There's no teacher-like experience.
Yeah. And customer service is such a big thing. Now, okay, so you were raised in Pittsburgh. So then where did you go to college?
I went to school down in Texas. My father worked for Gulf Oil at the time, so we, during the oil bust, moved down to Houston, and I enrolled in Stephen F. Austin State University, which is about 3 hours north of Houston. It's an accredited business school, and when I finished there, I moved to Dallas, and that's where I met my wife, Jody. And we lived in Dallas for about 2 years, and then got transferred out to the area you mentioned earlier, Westlake and Thousand Oaks. So we were there for about 10 years.
Now, and I'm looking at your bio here, and how do you pronounce that? Nacogdoches, Texas? Am I saying it wrong?
Yes, horribly. It's pronounced Nacogdoches, and it goes back to an old Indian myth that there was a chief that had two sons, one named Nacogdoches and one named Natchitoches, and he sent one east and one west, and that's where they started their towns. So there's a Nacogdoches, Texas, and there's a Natchitoches, Louisiana. So that's the story on that one. So you were in Texas, and then you moved out to California, the promised land, and that's the way I felt about California when I got there in, 1966. So at that point in time, it was just an unbelievable world, especially for people like you and I who come from the Midwest. Wasn't it an amazing experience to experience California in those years? Oh, fantastic. And it still is. I mean, the state has so much to offer. Where we live now, we can hit the beach, we can go to the mountains, we can go to the wine country, we can go to Yosemite, we can go to the world-class city of San Francisco. There's nothing that you could want that is not in this state. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Now, share a little bit with us about how you got into, before we talk about Did You Feed the Dog, let's share a little bit about how you got into franchising. What were your first experiences with franchising?
I got into it because it was the first job that was offered to me after college. So
there you go.
I needed to pay some bills, so I jumped in feet first. And my job at that time was to go around and visit Pip Printing. PIP at that time had 1,300 franchises across the United States. And it was my job to get on a plane and go visit them and consult with them and help them grow their businesses. So I was sort of a small business consultant from day one, pushed out there to help printers run their small businesses. And I was traveling probably about 65-70% of the time.
Oh, wow.
But it was, again, there's no teacher-like experience. So it was great on-the-ground knowledge and practice. And from there, I just sort of tended to stay in franchising because it's something I seem to be good at. I've owned a couple of franchises myself, and it's a fun place to play. It's a big sandbox.
Okay, and so then you went on to California Closets, and how long were you with them?
I was with California Closets for 10 years, 5 years on the corporate side, and then 5 years in partnership running one of the larger franchises. So I went basically from the frying pan into the fire. learned both sides. It's two totally different worlds, by the way.
I can imagine.
Being a franchisor and being a franchisee. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, which do you prefer?
I sleep better when I'm on the franchisor side, but the financial rewards seem to be a little bit better on the franchisee side. So you gotta weigh the pros and cons of each.
Okay. So how long were you with PIP?
About 7 years in total.
7 years. Okay. So then you were 10 years with California Closets, which we've all heard and we've all used. How about then you went on to Vanguard Cleaning Systems. What did they do?
I'm still with Vanguard Cleaning Systems, and we are we're a franchisor of commercial cleaning services. So it's not a brand that most people know. It's supposed to work that way. When you leave your office building, companies like ours come in and clean your offices. Empty the trash and vacuum and dust, and you don't normally see those businesses, but they're always quietly at work, and that's one of the companies I'm working with now.
Okay. So this is a very interesting career arc that you've had. So then you taught in 2011 and 2012. You taught several marketing courses at San Francisco State University in your spare time. Did you enjoy teaching?
I loved it. It's at the end of every semester there seemed to be about 3 or 4 students that you could tell you reached. And when the grades were distributed, and you'd get an email from them saying, thank you very much, and it was always along the same lines that that I explained something to them that resonated with them, or that they appreciated that. So that was the fuel that kept that going. It was a very rewarding experience.
Okay. And so then you did that at the San Francisco State University. So now we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about how you became an inventor in early 2014 after you and your son became fatigued asking each other in the morning, did you feed the dog? And boy, this resonated with me because that's the first thing my husband and I say to each other each morning, did you feed the dog? We'll be right back with Jim Foley.
The Boy on Shady Grove Road explores a humble but adventurous childhood in rural Arkansas during the 1940s and 50s. Clyde McCulley's juvenile innocence and sense of wonder capture universal mysteries and dreams of childhood, while coming to terms with family, friends, and faith in the segregated South. With wit and heartfelt gratitude, The Boy on Shady Grove Road ponders the most basic questions while celebrating the warmth of belonging, the joys of freedom, and the simple pleasures of life. Available on Amazon and StoryNightPress.com. Rachel Carson wrote, "Spring now comes unheralded by the return of the birds, and the early mornings are strangely silent, where once they were filled with birdsong. Little did she know the movement she began would lead to the destruction she envisaged." Announcing the release of John Graves' new book, Broken Wing, Birds, Blades, and Broken Promises. Today's wind turbines kill millions of birds, require backup power plants, are harmful or deadly to humans, have enormous costs. There are alternative wind turbine choices. The wealthiest benefit from wind. We pay higher prices. The story is conservation, the environment. Lately, there's a whining epidemic in our world. People are even whining about whining. Are you sick and tired of listening to everyone whining all the time? So was January Jones, the author of Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment that reached number 1 at Amazon.com. Ms. Jones based her book on a survey of the top 10 things that people whine about at all ages and all stages of life. January is a success coach that can tell you how to help others. When you buy Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, you'll find out what people whine about and how to stop them from whining. This is the perfect gift book to give or get for any occasion. Thou Shall Not Whine was voted the best gift to be given anonymously for those special people in your life. Ms. Jones is an internationally known author in the style of Irma Bombeck, specializing in housewife humor with her book being published in Korea and China.